All right, we are good to go.
Right, thank you. Well, I'm going to start off and then I'm going to be sharing the presentation with Morgan Costello and Jeff, and they're two graduate students in the program, so you'll be hearing their perspective as well. And most importantly, we want to have a dialogue with you. So we're really focused on kind of teeing this up, giving you some background and some context, and then having an open conversation where you can get a lot of your thoughts shared and questions answered. To start, just want to let you know that we're here to really explore this to master's degree or not to master's degree. That's the question. But the real question is for you. Is the master's degree right for you? And if so, is it right now, later? So there are a lot of considerations, and we hope that this will help you sort through some of those. And of course, after this, I would encourage all of you, if you have additional questions, to reach out to any of us, and we'd be more than happy to follow up with you. One thing that will really help us in terms of tailoring this and getting a sense of where you're at is for you to share a bit about yourself. So if we could quickly name, agency, if you're a student, just let us know where and what you're majoring in. So the name, the agency, your title, if you have a professional title, and how long you've been in the field. So name, agency, title, and number of years in the field. And we'll just go around the horn here. Why don't we start with Morgan, and then we'll go with Kenny and Andrew. Morgan? Morgan Boone, I should say.
Sorry, I had an alarm go off. Hi, everybody. My name is Morgan Boone. I'm a senior at SUNY Cortland, and I would really like to get into the event planning industry.
Thank you. Andrew?
I just graduated in May. I was lucky enough to get a job with Loretto in Syracuse. I've been in the business for about 6 months. Doing good.
Thank you. Victoria, quick introduction, name, title, and years in the field. Oops, mute. Got your mute on. There we go.
My apologies. My name is Victoria. I actually did my undergrad in public health and learned about therapeutic rec in the latter parts, and that's what my interest. But I'm currently a military spouse living in San Diego, so I am looking at getting a master's in either outdoor education or outdoor adventure sport, something like that.
All right, thank you. Bree? You with us, Bree?
Yes. Hi, my name is Bree. I'm a senior at SUNY Portland, and I hope to be a certified recreational therapist afterwards.
Thank you. Dan?
Hey, y'all, I'm Dan Spector. I am a 2015 alum of SUNY Cortland in the recreation program, and I work down at Richmond at Virginia Commonwealth University. I've been here for 2+ years. I got my master's at James Madison University in campus recreation, sport and rec leadership. So I've been here for almost 2.5 years as a scheduling and events coordinator at VCU Recreational Sports.
Thank you. Jackie? Jackie, are you with us?
Jackie put theirs in the chat, I believe, as did Ian.
Okay. We'll come back to you then. Jessica? How about Ian?
Hi, I'm a TR student from SUNY Cortland, and my Wi-Fi is super bad, so that's why I don't have my camera on. But yeah.
All right. Ian?
That's me. My name's just under.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Capitalized. Sorry.
I was still on Jackie. How about Lynette?
Hi, I'm Lynette. I'm a recreation therapist at the Rochester Psychiatric Center.
And how long have you been there?
I've been there for 7 years. I was at Rochester rehabilitation center before that.
Okay. Well, for the sake of time, I would like to ask those of you who I haven't got to please just put that information just punch it into chat. It does help us get a sense of where the interest is, where you are in your careers, and will help us move forward. And we can follow up with you if you indicate that you'd like any further information. So as we begin this presentation, just some things for you to consider. You're here because you have some type of interest, so I'd like you to just take a minute, reflect on what that interest may be. Is it career advancement? Are you looking to change professions? Is it competency, just greater professional competency? You're looking for an intellectual challenge? What is it that brings you here? And just keep that in mind as we go, and you'll hear things that may be very relatable. What we're going to do is we're just going to share some information with you about our own experiences and then have that conversation. So we're each of the panel members are going to talk about why we chose to pursue a master's degree, the challenges and the rewards, and advice, things we wish we may have known. So I'm going to start off, and then I'm going to turn it over to Morgan, and why I chose to get a master's degree. I had bachelor's in recreation. I'm working at an agency for a couple of years, and I had the good fortune of getting an internship that led to a job. I'm sort of middle-level management at a community center, and I just felt like I wanted this career path that would give me the opportunity to move up and take on more responsibility. I just had those aspirations. So I went into the agency director and I said, boss, what do I need to do to have your job? And he said, son, you're going to need a master's degree. I didn't call him boss and he didn't call me son. It just makes for a better story. But you get the idea. He was telling me that if I wanted to advance my career in this field, it was inevitable. And it really became the question of, well, when am I going to do this? And we'll be back to that later. So I'm going to turn it over to Morgan.
Thank you, Ken. Can everyone hear me? Cool. The reason I decided to pursue my master's degree was that I graduated with my degree in outdoor recreation management, and I'd been working in the field for about 2 years doing seasonal jobs, doing like adventure guiding, kind of like the classic outdoor rec seasonal thing for a little bit. And I was getting a little bit tired of that, and I decided to try to start staying in one place and working my way up. So I was living in Durham, North Carolina, working for the Parks and Rec Department in Durham, and I wasn't loving it. And I realized that that wasn't where I wasn't exactly where I wanted to be, and I didn't know where I wanted to be. I was just feeling a little bit lost, and I'd always had school in the back of my mind, and so I ended up at Cortland.
Thank you. Jeff?
Hey everyone. So my reasons were kind of twofold. First off, some of you know that I did complete my undergraduate here at Cortland. And I never got a chance to be that full-fledged rec major. I never got to be part of that massive cohort that is so great that we have here at Cortland. I did pick up a minor in my end of my sophomore year, and on top of that, and just being surrounded by people that were kind of that full-fledged rec major, I got to inject a lot of recreation into my major, which was health education at the time, and recognizing that there was a lot of overlap between those two really, really pushed me to recognize, okay, like I'm now getting 4 years of school in the education side of it, with health and wellness as a focus, recognizing that there's so much rec as a part of that, and realizing that my education wasn't over, and I still really, really was hungry to learn more, and especially to delve deep into that rec side of what I wanted to do. And then the other reason was really, again, kind of recognizing that these two things have a really great overlap, and recognizing that I could marry this together. But in order to do so, I'm going to need some more time. So recognizing that I might as well maintain my positioning in the college environment, recognizing that grad school was definitely the avenue to do that. And also recognizing kind of career paths as well. I figured out that I really, really love the college demographic. I had the opportunity to be in a lot of leadership roles throughout my undergraduate career, and I really learned that I loved working with the college demographic of people. So I recognized that campus recreation is really what I wanted to do. And getting a major in recreation management was really, really going to catalyze that career going forward for me.
So the next, and I should mention, if there's anything that jumps out at you that you want to follow up on in the moment, please do. We don't have to wait till the end. So feel free to just put your hand up, or you can hover over your name and you click on the participant link there, and we'll see you. And Sarah can help us keep an eye out for that. But feel free to jump right in. So the next question we're going to discuss is the challenges and rewards. And as I mentioned, I had a couple of years of experience. I knew that I wanted to have a greater depth of competency and knowledge and be able to elevate my career. And at the same time, I was still a little lost. At the time, I thought I wanted to work within the same type of agency, but I wasn't really sure. I wanted more focus in addition to the degree. I wanted to be really good at something, and I wanted to have a better idea of what that was. So one of the challenges for me, and I know that a lot of you are in different places in your lives, was I decided to get my degree at Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon. So it involved a move. And then I got married. And then I got a job that was sort of a hover job while I was going to get my master's full time. And that was a lot. So the challenge is life and, graduate school balance. And then I remember my first day of class. I don't care how old you are, the first day of class is nerve-wracking. It's like, you remember you're a little kid and you have your pencil bag, and it's the same thing in graduate school. Like, I'm just as nervous on my first day. I go in and I see there's people with a whole range of levels of expertise and people who are just out of undergrad. And that was really refreshing, that I would be connecting with all these people from these different walks of life and different places in their career. Hand in that first paper, and the professor said, "Oh, no, none of it, all of it, over again." And I thought, oh. There's an additional challenge. The difference between, in my experience, undergrad and grad was the difference between high school and college. It was not a small step, it was a leap. And that's why I was there. I wanted that challenge, but it was a bit to take in. That the level that I was operating at was not the level I needed to operate at. So the challenge became, how do I do this? How do I balance all of this? There's so many different demands. And I'll get to that in my advice section. But certainly, I think many of you can relate to that now. And I think that graduate school can really compress that experience. Excuse me. And so I'll turn it over now to Morgan, hear her about her challenges. Well, actually, I'll go to rewards first. Let's do it all together, challenges and rewards. Rewards, every job I got after getting my master's degree required a master's degree. There was nothing that I wanted to do that I could have done without that master's degree. So for me, it was like immediate gratification. I got the master's degree, I applied for jobs, master's degree required. And so I just felt, and I've got to say, I had several different career paths. I was a fundraiser, and it required a master's degree. I was the director of Parks and Recreation. It required a master's degree. Everything I did, it was required, and not even preferred. You had to have it. So I felt that I had given myself this landscape of opportunity that wasn't available to me previously. At the director position, at the executive director position, and it was a great investment and it was very rewarding, and it still is. Obviously, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing now if I hadn't had that as a first step. So that's my challenge and reward. I'll turn it over to Morgan.
Can Victoria put in the chat asking was your graduate school online?
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was evenings, and it was quite challenging.
I'm curious to know then what, with the current implications of where we are because of the pandemic, do you feel like it is beneficial to get a master's degree online in this particular field? Because historically, like, I mean, I didn't get my undergrad in recreation, but I imagine that would have been very hands-on. How could you attest to getting a master's in the recreational field right now online?
Online? Yeah, I think that it really depends on the nature of the program. I can let Jeff and Morgan address that. Within the recreation management field, a lot of my cohort were working professionals who had a few years of experience, who were looking to, again, advance their careers because they knew it was coming. At some point, they were going to have this to meet a requirement. So whether it was online because it allowed people do it so they can continue to work, or if it's scheduled like it is here, where many of the classes are in the evening. I think it's the quality of the program, not the mechanism of its delivery. That might not go, Morgan or Jeff, for outdoor recreation. I think that might have a slightly different orientation, but just from my own anecdotal experience, when you're looking at that management degree, that was well served. I've known people who've been well served both in person and online. It's just really vetting the program. And we'll get to that a bit, but I can tell you right now, you'll want to talk to students. You'll want to talk to people who are in the program. And that's why we're doing this for you now, to hear about those experiences and to be really candid. So good question. And COVID, no reason to slow down. There's nothing that's going to happen after this that would preclude that decision from being a good one. It is challenging times, no doubt, but it isn't changing the dynamic of the field where the degree will lose in its value. Yeah.
I think more than ever it's necessary.
Yeah. And we're demonstrating that every day. Some of you are out there doing good work, and it's just critically important work. So, yeah. Thank you. Morgan?
Yeah. Before I talk about my challenges and rewards, I also just want to touch on that question, Victoria, and say that I think, at least in like the outdoor field, and with my like graduate assistantship position, my experience is negatively impacted by COVID. That being said, it's also like there's nothing else going on. Like I wouldn't be able to be working in the field in the outdoors right now anyway. So I'm also really glad that I'm here because at least my time is being spent pursuing something that's going to help me later. When I wasn't in this, I wouldn't really be being able to do anything that would be helping me too much either, I guess. So it is impacting it, but I'm okay with it because it's also an investment in myself for now. So to go over, I hope that helps. Some of the challenges for me in my master's degree, I guess first and foremost, it's just a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of schoolwork. It has to be your number one priority, I would say, or at least number two. It has to be really, really important to you, and you have to be willing to put a lot of time in. And you have to be ready to balance, like I said, like I'm not working a full-time job with a family. That sounds really challenging to be doing that like you were, Ken. But it is a lot to balance. It's not the same as undergrad where your whole life is like you're like living on campus, eating on campus, taking your classes. Like you have other jobs, you have family commitments, you have your own things going on as well. So in one sense, grad school is your whole life. On the other sense, it's not because you're not an undergrad anymore. You're like an adult with other responsibilities as well. So it's the balance of that. And then I would say another challenge of the grad degree is that it's 2 years, which kind of feels like a long time, but it's also in the big picture quite a short amount of time. And there are a lot of decisions that you have to make, that you have to make pretty quickly, I feel like, and that will come in with my advice section in a minute again. And then, of course, the challenge has been COVID, and hopefully that won't be a challenge for too much longer. But yeah, that is fantastic. I feel like everyone's mental health, their ability to do the things they usually would be doing, and it's completely changed the experience of being in school. Rewards have been, it's genuinely fun. I love being in school. I love school. I love going to class. I love doing my assignments most of the time. Of course, there's times you don't want to like write a paper or whatever, but I literally love what I do. I feel so lucky every day. I'm interested in everything that I'm doing. My advisor, all the faculty at Portland are incredible and work with you and push you to be better, and you just have that feeling of actively feeling like you're learning and that you're growing and you're investing in yourself, and it's really wonderful to have that. There also are endless opportunities for funding, for scholarships, for professional development that I feel like is pretty unique to being a student. Like there's just people throwing money at you and internships and all this stuff. You just have to go out there and try to, apply and claim them. But there's just so much to do, so much to get involved with, and all of it is amazing. I wish I had more time in my day so I could do more than what I'm doing now, because it's really incredible. And yeah, great faculty and staff, great community. I'm really grateful to be here. So it's been an incredible, a wonderful 3-day experience for me. It's the reward.
Thank you, Morgan. Jeff?
Thanks, Morgan. Yeah, you touched on some really, really poignant topics as well. And so, Victoria, I think one of my top challenges kind of comes into answers your question a little bit also, because it's been so exponentially changed, is that graduate work is extremely self-motivated. If you think about, and that's how it's intended to be. If you think about, like Ken said, the leap from high school to undergrad, there's a lot of learning curve, but there's a lot that's going to happen. There's a lot more responsibility, and the same can be said about that jump from undergrad to graduate. And as a graduate, you're expected to be more self-sufficient than you've ever been before in an educational system. And again, that's by design. You need to be able to sit down at the end of the day and tell yourself, all right, I need to manage my time wisely. I need to produce quality work on this, and that. I also need to make sure that I am paying attention to myself as a human, and making sure that you are going and exercising, that you are going and eating well, that you are going and finding the things that you find intrinsically valuable, and injecting those into your life, because that's going to help as well. But like I said, I'm just reiterating it again. Graduate school, by design, is extremely self-motivated. And that is not, and a challenge is a great way to describe that. And really, it's more of an opportunity, because it's such an awesome crucible to help you grow in that independency, help that kind of safety net thin out underneath you so that you can support yourself. Because that's how life is like. The farther we progress into our careers and the more responsibility we take on, the more it's going to be self-motivated. So grad school is this perfect kind of crucible to really enforce that. Another challenge is kind of like Morgan said as well. The bar is higher, and again, by design. It's a lot more synthesis more than replication of information. You're expected to be creative, problem solving, come up with the solutions to the prompts and questions that your faculty and staff particularly designed to challenge you. That's the job of grad school, is to really push you into that synthesis over anything else. you're producing work that hopefully has never been done before or has been similarly attacked, but you're looking at it from a different angle. But it can be challenging from time to time to prioritize that synthesis when it would be really easy just to read and regurgitate, which our education system unfortunately does encourage in a lot of facets. So that synthesis can definitely be a challenge, but again, it's an opportunity as well for growth. I think Morgan, you touched on it as well, and Ken, I know you did, but just that balance too is really hard from time to time because it demands so much more of your attention. So you really, really have to be cognizant of, okay, my anxiety levels have been through the roof for multiple days now. How can I take a step back, do something that is going to recenter myself so that I can refocus and continue to produce really quality work. But moving on to rewards, the biggest one, and I've definitely kind of alluded to it already, is growth. You are never going to have you will have more opportunities if you seek them out. But grad school is that opportunity for growth, and it really forces you to ask yourself those big questions. What do I really want to do? Is this really what I want to do? Because a benefit that you have in your undergrad of, okay, you know what? I don't think this is for me. I'm going to change my major isn't as easy in graduate school. Graduate school is a lot more focused. So really, really forces you to ask that question of, is this what I want to do potentially for the rest of my life? Is it a end all be all? This is what you're doing? Absolutely not. You always have the opportunity to pursue higher education in any point in your life. But it really forces you to ask, what are my greatest strengths and my weaknesses? What am I really, really doing well? And where do I really need to improve in my life? How can I, am I maintaining balance? Who and what are my greatest assets that I have in my life right now? All of these things, these questions are really pushed to the forefront of your mind, and they're reiterated upon every single day. So growth is huge in grad school. Even in just a year and a half, I'm not the same person that I was at the end of my undergrad. Another huge reward is networking and connections. We know the value in the rec field of networking, and we know the connections that we make are going to open up those jobs and open up those avenues for new knowledge and everything. Grad school catalyzes that really well. You have the opportunities to work with professionals, work with instructors, work with mentors, work with supervisors. You just have a lot more responsibility put into your lap, and therefore you should not be doing that in a vacuum. You should be seeking out those opportunities to talk to people. There's always going to be somebody who, and especially in a grad school situation or in a grad school environment where you're on a college campus, there's experts a stone's throw away on something that you've been struggling on. So having the opportunity to go out, ask for help, network, make connections, figure out, oh, this person's doing something really cool and really well. They went through this program. How did they approach it? And gather that information there. There was one more I had. I started to write it and then I forgot it. Hold on, let's see if I can remember it. Oh, the opportunity for ownership. Grad school provides a lot of opportunities to really put your name on something new. At Cortland, you have 3 choices for what's called our Culminating Project. You can do comps or comprehensive exams, and that's kind of your final mega exam at the end of the year, and it tests you on everything you've learned over the course of the 2 years. You could do a thesis, and if people have questions on thesis, Ken and Morgan is working on her thesis right now. You can complete a thesis, and that's something published with your name on it. Or you can do a project, and that's what the avenue that I chose to do is work on a project, create something, again, synthesize something that has never been done before, or that is a new take on something. And again, it's ownership. It's something that you not only can be really proud of, and it's going to force you to grow, but now it's something you can put on your resume. Now it's that thing that you sit down to that interview and they ask you, what have you done? And you can hand them a bound book and say, here, this is what I did. So it provides those opportunities for ownership.
Thank you, Jeff. I just love hearing what you're saying, and it gives me a great feeling of, just knowing that this is something that you're experiencing and others who are considering it will experience. I guess my summation is that rewards are worth the challenges. The rewards are inherent in the challenge. The challenge provides the reward. So in my case, I mentioned that it got me the jobs that I want, but it's making me reflect back on that experience and just think about the growth that happened during that period of time, and it was significant. So now we're going to move on to giving you some advice and things that we've learned along the way. For me, it's looking back. I'm a little ways away from my master's degree, and then I went on to get my PhD. And I got to see younger people. I went back late in life. Jeff mentioned it's never too late. I went to get back my PhD after I'd been in the field for over 20 years. I was pushing 40, so it is never too late. But I got to experience it in those two different spaces of time. And for me, when I was getting my master's degree, the challenge wasn't just time management. I knew that was coming. It was developing a strategy. And my strategy was I was going to avoid distractions, because we know that it's the interruption. You can have great intentions, but if you are routinely interrupted from some external source, someone's asking for your time, or you are bored, or you need a diversion and you decide to get online, and that 5 minutes turns into 50 minutes. It's the interruption that burns the time. So I knew that, and I had a strategy, which I was going to secure an uninterrupted space, and I was just laser focused. And it wasn't going so well. I just wasn't that productive. I'm in this space, and the whole time in there, I felt like life is going on out there, and I'm missing it. And it struck me at that point in my life that, it's not that I can't focus, it's I'm lonely. I'm just sitting in here all by myself. And so what I did was I shifted where I did my work to cafes. And suddenly, noise and the energy and the people, I wasn't engaging with them, but being in that atmosphere just stimulated my ability to get things done. So my strategy shifted. I needed an uninterrupted space, but it also felt really secluded and just didn't have a lot of intellectual energy when I sat by myself in a room. When I changed my environment, it was invigorating and heightened my intellectual energy, and it was far more productive. So the advice is experiment. Everybody's different. Find your own way. Everybody learns differently. They study differently. Don't feel like you're failing if you're, not able to just sit there and grind it out for 3 hours. That's not how everyone does it. Every 50 minutes, get up and take a walk. You'll find your strategy if you're looking for one. If you're finding that it's just this slow diminishment, I'm just not where I was, well, stop doing the same thing. Find a new way. Experiment, talk to people. So that was one piece of advice. I wish I hadn't felt so badly for so long and been less productive. I would have tried to experiment a little earlier to find what works for me. The last thing that's been alluded to is just dive in. Join your professional association. Get on a committee. Use the strength of your cohort. These are people who you can network with, who will advance your careers, who you can rely upon, who will give you that moral support when you need it, who will be there for you. We all want that, and that's an important part. You need to recognize everybody wants that. So it's a question of how are you treating others in your program? Are you the person who thinks, I wish people would reach out to me, or are you the person who's reaching out to others? And I can tell you with Morgan and Jeff, I know that they are people who are really benefiting everyone in this program. They're not waiting. They reach out, they give people that hug, or that you can do it, or I understand how you're feeling, and it's really meaningful. So when you go into a program with a mindset of, what am I going to get out of this? Is this going to help my career? Is this going to do all those things I need? Yeah, but another way to look at it is, how can I contribute to the program? And if you go into it thinking, how can I contribute to the program? I guarantee you it will be a very different experience and a far more positive one. So that's my advice. Morgan?
I have advice as well, but I just want to also point out real quick If you have any, we can also save these till the end, but there's 2 questions in the chat. So I guess we'll go through our advice and then we can address those.
Yeah.
But my advice kind of touches on those a little bit. So I would say the first piece of advice I have for getting a master's degree is don't pay for it. Find funding. There's plenty of money out there. Don't pay for it unless that makes sense for you and that's something that you can figure out. A master's, like undergrad, people go to debt for a master's degree in higher education is not something you should be taking out major loans for. And that's advice that my undergraduate advisor gave me and has served me well. My second piece of advice is also very straightforward, is join your graduate student union. If you do go to grad school, join your grad student union. They are the people that, it's a great way to meet other grad students. And also they're the people that are going to advocate for you and make sure you're getting the most funding and that your positions are secure, and that they also provide opportunities for scholarships and professional development. So big advocate for the grad student unions. And then this touches on one of the questions, but another piece of advice I would say when considering a master's is do what's right for you. But in my experience, I would highly recommend taking time between undergrad and grad school to live in the world in a different way. A lot of us have been students for a long time. I know I took time off between high school and undergrad, and then I shouldn't even call it time off. I call it time on, because I've always learned more living my life than I've ever had at school. And that's not to say that school's not worth it, because it is, but you learn a lot in different ways when you're not in school. And then I also took time between undergrad and grad school. And those experiences that I had when not in school just give me more, in my experience, motivation. They give me more to work off of. And they allow me to, I feel like I learn better because I have connections that I've worked with that relate to the material that I'm then learning. And it just helps me remember and connect things better in an academic sense as well. So I would highly recommend taking time off. Even if you're like living at home for a semester and working at a CVS, like just getting a little bit of life experience, I feel like is always beneficial. And then it can kind of like put like that fire under your butt to really do well in grad school, as it did for me when I was working jobs I wasn't enjoying. Really made me excited for grad school. And then another piece of advice I would have is to take some time to think about what your outcomes you want from school are. And this is something that I did do, which is why I would recommend it, and why one of the challenges for me was the fact that grad school kind of comes at you quick and you have to make a lot of decisions. So in my first couple weeks of school, I had to choose a topic for my thesis that I was going to spend most of my time with for the next 2 years, and I had never even thought about that before. And it was pretty overwhelming, and I'm quite happy with my thesis and how my work is on that, but just looking at the program you're looking at and looking at what outcomes you want. So I know Ken said when he went to grad school, it was because he knew that he needed that degree to get a job. And that's a great reason to go to get your master's. For me, I was in between things and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And that's why I went to get a master's. And getting a master's for the sake of trying something new and learning is also a great reason to go do something. But having an idea of what you want to get out of it as an end goal will just direct your actions that you take throughout school and put a little bit more purpose and intention behind that as well. And that, I guess I'll touch on the question in the chat that asks thesis versus non-thesis, and asks how common is it to get a PhD in recreation. Ken, I'll let you answer that. But in the program at Cortland, as Jeff said, there are 3 options: a comprehensive exam, doing a project, or doing a thesis. I would say a thesis is relatively uncommon. The comprehensive exam is the most common, and that is partly because people getting their degree in therapeutic recreation, doing the comprehensive exam makes a lot of sense because then it helps them get their CTRS exam as well. So maybe that is just because of the breakdown of students in the recreation department. I only applied to grad schools that didn't require a thesis. I did not want to do a thesis. I had no interest in research, and here I am. I'm the only person in my cohort doing a thesis. I don't know how I got into this, but I am happy with it, and it's working out just fine. So, yeah, I don't know if people should do a thesis or not. That is a personal decision. Yeah, that's the advice I have. Oh, I'm sorry, I've got to add one more piece of advice. I have a bunch of notes in front of me, but be ready to advocate for yourself. And know that your master's degree is what you make it. There were a lot of like classes required in the program that I would look at and say, well, I did something kind of similar in undergrad, or I've already worked at a camp and I feel like I've looked at that syllabus and would get more out of taking this class instead. And I would take classes in different departments, and that just helped me to diversify myself and to focus on my interests. And so know that there is a structure for the program, but you have flexibility to build what you want as well, as long as you have a good reason for it and can advocate for yourself in that sense. So.
All right. So Morgan definitely touched on one of mine for sure, which is really, really consider the reason why you want to go to grad school, and really consider the outcomes you want to get out of it. And Morgan, you put it very eloquently. And my one addition there is just at certain times, again, I keep saying this, but by design, grad school is going to be stressful, and it's going to be difficult. And really having a clear-cut reason as to why you are here and why you're putting yourself through all this really motivates you in those times of in those difficult and challenging times. So recognizing, okay, I'm here because X, Y, Z, but really internalizing those and knowing them very clearly is important. My next one, and this comes from a very personal place, and somewhere where I am still improving very much so, is being open to feedback. I mentioned that a huge benefit of grad school is being surrounded by people that know more than you, because they've been doing it longer than you have, and also people that want to help you. 9.99 times out of 10, those people that you surround yourself with, that you seek out, want to help you, but you need to be open to the feedback that they're going to give you. And that's something I've always struggled with, is accepting feedback, because I really put a lot of effort into the first time that I do work. And then sometimes I have a really hard time looking back at it and making edits to it, because I'm like, I put so much work into this. How can it need more work? But being really open to that feedback is critically important. And my last piece of advice, and I think I'm surprised you didn't say this one, Morgan, is the graduate position. Being a graduate assistant. If you have the opportunity to be a graduate assistant, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Not only do graduate assistant positions come with the opportunity to help you pay for grad work, which, hey, we're all trying to save a quick buck in how expensive our collegiate education system has become, but it provides you practical, hands-on experience where you can apply the things you're learning. I am very, very fortunate in that my GA position is almost perfectly paralleled with what I am learning as rec management. I get to every day, either vice versa, go to class and apply something that I learned in my position, or the opposite. I get to come away from class, go into work and say, hang on, we just talked about this in class. I can do this right now. So finding a position that will really supplement your educational career can be a huge, huge learning opportunity. And again, it's only going to really build that kind of paraprofessional before you get into the actual career that you want to do. Yeah, typically GA positions usually ask you to do about 20 hours a week. Whether or not they actually live up to that limit can vary, but at the end of the day, it's always worth it. And even though I just said trying to find one that really supplements, finding one that doesn't supplement, that isn't exactly paralleled with what you want to do, can be equally beneficial, because kind of like Morgan said, in taking that time on to go do something that you hadn't done before, you can be learning all of the stuff that you want to learn in your degree and learning something completely new at the same time, but still gaining that professional experience. So I highly recommend, if you're considering grad school, also be very open to being a graduate assistant.
All right, thank you, Jeff. And quick thanks to you and to Morgan for taking the time. We're in the middle of this conversation about how intense and how busy you are, and you've both taken the time to share your experience with everyone. So I just want to really thank you for that. And I'm looking out at students past and present and potential, and the beauty of our program, I think, when I did my work elsewhere, and it was different. It's different here. And I think one of the key differences is the level of care, just genuine, you're a person and we care about you, is something that I find unique to this place, really powerful and really important. And so we tend to attract students who feel similarly. They want to be a number in a big program, they picked a caring profession, they want to do some good in the world, and then you surround yourself with people who want to help you do that. And a master's degree is one way that you can actually take this value that you have, this belief in what you want to do with your life, and be more successful in that. It's going to give you more tools to do more good. So I would encourage all of you to go to our website. I posted the link. I put my email down here, and I'm sure Morgan and Jeff will be receptive to hearing from you as well. And with that, we have a bit of time. How are we doing here, Sarah?
Good, you have about 10 minutes left.
Okay, we're going to leave the last 10 minutes here to hear directly from you and answer your questions. So please.
Victoria, so I see your question in the chat, and I feel like being a GA is being a superhero. That touched my heart. That's pretty cool that you think that. So, and I'm sure Morgan and other GAs appreciate that as well. You don't always feel like a superhero, but you certainly, because they work you pretty hard. But that's I'm going to say it again. It's going to be my motto for today. But that's by design. It's supposed to push you and really push your limits and recognize your strengths, especially in times that you may not be ready for it. A perfect example is right now, with COVID and everything going on. And Morgan, you mentioned that you feel like it's negatively affected your career as a grad student, and it's definitely, I don't know if I agree with you. I think it has significantly changed how the GA position has been, but speaking from experience, and I'm fortunate that my supervisor is actually here in this conference session with us. So hi, Eve, I'll wave down the hall to you. That this COVID and everything has given me the opportunity to really put my skills into a situation that I never expected I was going to be able to do. I had the opportunity to take an entire building alongside Eve and I, just problem solving day in and day out for, honestly, that first week before the students came back. It was probably a 50, 60 hour work week, figuring out how to open this building in the face of COVID. And unfortunately, we were only open for a short period of time. But at certain times, it can be a pretty huge commitment. But at the end of the day, it's always going to be hugely worth it because it's practical hands-on experience.
Other questions?
Go for it. Is someone about to speak?
Jeff, what was
Yeah,
your
Andrew.
again?
Say it again.
What was your GA position?
So last year, and this is kind of why I touched on it when I talked about being a JA and looking for positions that might not necessarily be what you wanted to do. So last year, I was actually GA for sports clubs, and I had very little experience in sports clubs going into it. Bree, I think I did a good job. Bree was one of our officers last year,
You did.
and I learned I learned a lot in doing so. And this year, I switched over to facilities and aquatics. So that's what gave me the opportunity to basically manage the Student Life Center.
Awesome.
I want to add something about GA positions as well, that Cortland is amazing for being a graduate assistant, because I have friends that have gone to other schools that maybe are quite large and they have assistantships, and they're literally shuffling papers, getting people coffee, doing tedious, slow, very boring work to fund their education. But here, like Jeff and I, we have a staff that we can manage. We're working like what feels like a professional job and getting like incredible experience. That is like you said, Jeff, it's priceless. And Ken, there is a question in the chat that I think you could best address if you'd like to.
Yeah, so the TR master's degree, what are people doing with that degree? How is it giving them additional opportunities? And at the master's level, what a lot of these master's degree programs allow you to do is to expand the spectrum of opportunity into management, administrative, leadership roles. So there's a lot of transferability that happens when you get that master's within TR. So just think of all the different variety of agencies where you could be applying that skill set. So frequently when people get their undergraduate degree, there's this typical progression, and it's a good one, where you start off on line staff, you become an activity director, you become a program director, and after you're a program director, then what? And that's when the master's level. And I think there's a similar parallel track in TR. You've done the line staff and the direct service, and now you're thinking, I've been doing this for a while, what's next? Well, there are nonprofits, there's so many populations, and they're all looking in a very precise way for people who have a skill set that you don't get in the undergraduate program. And Jeff alluded to a lot of it, which is a heightened level of problem solving, critical analysis, creativity, and being able to go into an agency with a repertoire that will advance that agency's mission. That's not the stuff necessarily of an undergraduate degree. So I think there's a great level of transferability within any discipline that you get through this program. It is more of a generalist program in a sense, meaning that you don't get pigeonholed, you can move within the field. And that's for some people, not for others. But I think the type of person who takes this on is someone who likes that, not to be overly specialized, but see the whole person, see the whole field, and be able to address both. Other questions?
I have a question. Do you think that there is a big financial opportunity to get a master's degree in our field? Because I know that we don't a lot. So I was wondering if getting a master's would give you more opportunities for better pay and stuff.
Short answer is yes. I mean, if you're looking at land management agencies and GS9, GS10, when you start at it, getting into these positions where an advanced degree is preferred or required, those are typically associated with an increase in your pay grade. And of course, we're a very diverse field, but generally speaking, if you have the combination of some experience and an advanced degree, then you are far better positioned to, have increasing levels of responsibility that come along with increasing levels of pay. And that is a motivator for some people to go back to get that degree. I am ready to move into a more managerial level and the associated pay grade. And I see myself a little, I'm not as direct service motivated as I once was. And now it's time to get that degree. And that is a fair reason for doing it.
There is one more question in the chat, Ken.
Okay, let me see. Should I tackle this one?
Oh, wait, maybe Morgan already answered that.
Okay.
So you said it's a very transferable degree. So what's the likelihood of entering the program and then really finding something that you want to do while you're in the program and maybe changing your mind halfway
Yeah,
through
I
or
think that Yeah, I think, they mentioned to have a reason why you want to do it, but there's going to be some variety in terms of where and precisely what you want to do. So the more you're engaged in the program, when you're going, even sitting in rooms like this, even if it's virtual, you're still connecting with people, you're learning about ideas, you're hearing about resources and opportunities. Our field is diverse and expanding. And so I think people do come in the program with one idea and come out with very different. Even in my own experience, I was going to be the director of a community agency, and I came out and I was a fundraiser because somebody mentioned, if you really want to succeed in the nonprofit world, something that's going to give you a competitive advantage is being able to raise funds. If you can raise money, you're going to be able to find a lot of different pathways. And so that opportunity came up, and suddenly I was a fundraiser. Didn't see it coming, and it served me well. So these things do allow you to examine different opportunities, and being in close proximity to people with different interests align you with networks can help you get there. So you don't have to have that spot on idea. It can be something that will develop when you're in the program.
and what are I think there's 3 specific degrees you can get within the whole broad name of the master's degree in our program.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have the
so
rec management. Oh, go ahead, Jeff, if you want to.
yeah, so I was just gonna so basically when you and every school is different. Here at Cortland, you basically achieve a recreation master's, and then you have concentrations. This is again how our program is set up, but it can be different depending on the school that you're at. And our 3 concentrations are management of leisure services. That's what I am, so rec management. Outdoor and environmental education. That's what Morgan is, and then TR. And TR is a little different, just because of the certifying exams and everything that needs to happen for that. But those are our 3 concentrations that you can do.
Yeah, I took the exam. I'm a CTRS. I think if I was to go back to school, I would go into management of rec services to expand into a different area and maybe find a job doing something different, just to keep improving.
Yeah, I know Ken can speak on behalf of this as well. I really juggled between outdoor and management, which track to take, and ultimately I did decide on management. I feel that having that experience and those like administrative skills, those management skills, budgeting, all the financial aspects, all things you learn in a very focused manner with the management degree are going to be applicable to any sort of organization that you get into. Most rec organizations are going to have pieces of all of those things in it. So is it the most applicable, the most broad? Not necessarily. Again, it's going to depend on what your career intentions are. Yeah.
Couple quick points here as we begin to wrap up. One is that to get more information, there is a link to our department. Anyone on faculty would be glad to speak to you, but I would direct you initially, if you're really considering this, if you're a former student here and we've had some experience together, I'd be glad to get a virtual cup of coffee with you and sort some of these things out. Others, I'd highly recommend that you speak to Sharon Todd, who is the program chair. She really has a vast understanding of the nuts and bolts and the different options. She's wonderful, and she would be, I'm sure, pleased to connect with you. So Sharon Todd is the person that I would start with, and then she can direct you to other faculty. There's rolling admissions. So the question of, if I wanted to do this, am I missing deadlines? How does it work? You can go to the website. It will walk you through that. I can tell you that our admissions policy and that rolling enrollment makes it a very accessible process. both in terms of what you need to do to put together an application and when you need to do it. You're not missing these hard deadlines, and it's just very accessible. One last thing is that we are considering adding an online master's degree in recreation management. Nothing like that happens quickly. It would be a couple of years out, but we are very interested in just hearing from you if you think that's something that would really serve me well. If you could just note that, keep me posted. I'm very interested in that. We'd be glad to keep in touch with you all along the way, and it would help us gauge your interest. So with that, thank you all so much. Morgan, Jeff, any last thoughts or observations?
Thank you all very much. I put a quick response to Tasha. The question was not, we didn't get a lot of time to address, but I put a quick answer to that in the chat. Thank you all. Feel free to reach out with any questions.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Morgan said. Feel free to reach out. I think we all touched on is the big theme here is graduate school is kind of really what you want to make it. So if you feel like doing that is something you want to do, please reach out, and we would love to share our experiences further with y'all. And thanks for organizing this, Ken. This was really enjoyable to do.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing some of you I haven't seen for a while. And Jeff, I wouldn't never have known about occasionally you kind of get this look on your face when I tell you have to do something different. Most of the time, Jeff, you're just great. I wouldn't have known you had a problem with feedback. So I learned something today too. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.